Creative community, what's going on? Cook, creative architect here for CTLN Network and multidisciplinary storyteller. You might have seen my rap career. You might have seen, me do some storytelling in terms of marketing, brand promotion. I'm out here. They see me, but please introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, so I'm Kadeja, content producer at CTLN Network, and also all around creative for my own business called 1710 Studios, where I do video editing, social media, all those things. So yeah.
Most definitely. Everybody, my name is JLaw, multidisciplinary artist from Baltimore. Here at CTLN, I do lead branding for that department. Everything creative. Cook tapped me in, so I definitely got to be a part. Can't wait to get into the details, the topics. Let's do it.
It's a lot of shows, it's a lot of podcasts, but the creators got something to say. So, let's first and foremost, we're gonna start this off real quick, right? Hey, how y'all been? What's new? Law, let's start with you, man. What's new in your world?
Listen, I would say the number one thing we were talking about it earlier. I got myself a new studio, and that's one of those things where it's like it's a bucket list item for artists like myself because you always want to have a space that you can create that's strictly just for creating. I'm talking about no TV in the background, nobody calling me. Like if I want to be ducked off and just me and my canvas, I can do that. Yeah. So I was able to get one. It's in Baltimore, so it's literally about 10 minutes from where I live, and I'm so excited for that. That's like the main. I'm still on that high. I literally got it in July.
Congrats, my
still
guy.
Moving stuff in, so like that's definitely a bucket list item. Other than that, just trying to get the business aspect of it is interesting because like we're creatives, we're all in our own entities as well, but that business side is so important. So just trying to find the efficiency from getting help from contractors to help me with proposals, getting new leads, just being more efficient in what I do. So that's what I've really been on.
Been on that grizzly.
Exactly.
Right,
man.
I've been running a business, putting in work as an artist.
Trying, man. So with it.
Do you feel like a difference between now that you have your own space? Like, do you feel like you're able to compartmentalize, like not working in the crib, or do you still get your shit off at home?
No, it's crazy because so I've been doing this full time since 2019, and I was actually a contractor at my own job until 2021. So the last 3 years, like 2-3 years, I've been full time, but I just work out of my house. But now it's like I'm going to work, man. Like, come on, man. Like, it's a different energy, and I really can focus on what I need to focus on when I'm at the studio.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference. It definitely is, and I'm glad I'm able to separate the two.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Liz, what's up with you?
So I've just got back from a 2-week European tour, which was crazy. I went to London and then surprisingly went to Barcelona, Spain after that. And nuts. It was nice to get away though, because I feel like since I was laid off in February, I've just been on go. Yeah. So really locked in, really trying to get my things together, and I'm in a good place, but I didn't want to mentally like lose my sense of self. Like, okay, I'm not just an entrepreneur, I'm not just a creative, I'm also like a person. Yeah. But of course, when I went there, I like got all my travel content together. So I feel like before I left, I was already like getting into like food content. So I've been working with a few DMV restaurants and getting like the food influencer vibe. Yeah. Had a huge meal at Federalist Pig. Shout out to y'all. Barbecue spot in DC. And then I went to another coffee shop. So I was getting things done and then I had to leave. And then I'm trying to get into the travel bag. So I'm really trying to see what niche I want to like really dig deep into. But at the same time, not feel boxed in. So yeah.
That trial and error is crazy. You had it.
Yeah. I just had a question because like, all right, you went on a trip that was international, right? So is it more like vacation or did you still find yourself kind of in work mode since that's what you do? But it's like fun, but at the same time, you're still working. What you think it was the balance?
It's really, I don't think getting content is work for me.
Okay,
it's like I'm gonna do that naturally. Like I'm always going to show people like what I'm doing and what I have going on. So like capturing content and recording things is what I love.
Gotcha.
It's the when I come back, what am I gonna do with all this stuff? So I'm trying to be strategic and not feel like I have to push everything out because it's a lot. I have a lot of stuff that I want to share. People have been asking me questions, so I want to push it out. But since I am the creative on the business side, I want to be strategic and try to see how I can turn this crazy experience into business. Like, I want to get somebody else to pay me. I want Virgin Airlines to fly me out. So I want to be strategic and not feel rushed.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, as you said that, like, I was literally thinking, like, like, how do you balance when you're capturing? Like, do you know what's for you or what's for, like, oh, I need to make sure I get the shot for the content? Like, how do you decide, or is it just kind of a flow when you out there?
It's a flow, and maybe I need to be more strategic about, okay, let me make sure I get the restaurants, let me make sure I get the airlines, like the big ticket items, you know. But for now, I just feel like that's the power of how I approach content, is because it's a free flowing. It's not everything so scripted and tight. So yeah.
Listen, that's only 1K league.
Hey, let them know. Let them know.
International league.
International league is crazy.
But and last part on that, because what I did see, I mean, as someone that follows you, like, I look at social media like the new TV, right? So I love that you put it all on your story, where like people got to keep up, but you got these quick clips, like episodes per story, like. What goes into deciding what hits the story and what hits the feed? Like, is it the partnership that it's like, all right, you can come to the feed, or is it just the experience?
I treat my stories kind of like something that's for me. Like, I don't have to put too much thought into it. I get it off real quick, you know, and I know it's gone in 24 hours. I could put it in a little highlight reel. So it's not as constricted as when I put something in the feed. I really want to get the partnerships. I really want to make sure I have the eyes on it, make sure it has all the different details. So I feel like the stories is more personal, and it's for me and my close, even though it's not even my close friends, but it's the people that follow me. It's the people that really tune in. And then once it goes to the feed, it's a little more manufactured, unfortunately.
Yeah, hey, man, congratulations. Welcome back. Glad you made it there. For sure. Yeah. For sure. Oh, it's been life. You know, I've been first and foremost, I had a great double play at work. Like, I mean, you know, for the 9 to 5, had an opportunity to go scout CultureCon.
Okay.
And so being up there, you know, naturally, like, we talk about just being who we are, capturing content. So I grabbed some stuff for the network, but CultureCon, they kind of had the theme of like a summer camp this year, in which I like that idea. Like, you know, like annually, like, to your point, yo, as content creators, your day to day is pretty much like the work, right? So you get this one moment to come together with other people and be inspired. And I really like what I've seen from like entrepreneurs to other influences. Like, I ran into T Sanders
Oh, yeah.
up there, you know what I mean? She be doing like the "Do you love me?" like a little dance joint. Like, I was like, yo, it's you. Like, and it's so funny, like, just even looking at the scope of like what stars look like these days, because it really do be like people you follow on social media. Like, your TikTok people, I saw the guy who be doing Atlanta content who be like, like all these jokes. So all of that was like good to experience. But the double play was, I'm up there, I hit up some people. Shout out to my guy Ahmad. He had posted that the Wale show was that night and it was sold out. I was like, ooh, you think you got it sold out? You know what I mean? And that's what we love about building relationships, like spending time with people. So I got to see Wale's show in New York, and yo, catalog wise,
I already know that.
Look, man. It was funny because before the show started, someone sitting next to me was like, "All right, what songs do you think they want to play?" And she said one. I was like, "Yo, I really want to hear Need to Know, like the Joan Mathison."
Wait, he did that?
He did the Need to Know.
Oh my god!
I was in that store like, I keep it low. Like, I was ready.
Nah, he got in his bag. People that when
he did that, and then of course, you know, no hands rung off at the end. But then he was like, you know, people always say I don't got, like, that's someone else's record. I don't got my own hit. Well, what about this? And then the Lotus Flower Bomb.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, you got it. You got it hit. So, you know, that was a good show. Then I did the second day of CultureCon, and funny enough, I was actually like media for CultureCon. Like, so I had actually like interview access. You see?
Nice.
So, you know what I mean? Put some respect on my name.
No, for real.
And I captured a lot of things for the network that I'm really excited about and inspired by. But, you know, I also did recognize, like, for some people who are creatives that are coming there to intentionally get, like, work stuff out of it. Like, so not a lot of people like the inspiration that comes from, you know, those types of conferences. They're like, no, I need tangible things. I need things to walk away with. And that's there, you know, but there was a lot more activations, a lot more put into branding and marketing things. And so, you know, I would say, as a creative, like, you do deserve to treat yourself to those experiences, but understand, like, don't put too much weight on the business of it. Like, go there to actually just enjoy it, like, soak it in. Like, yo, we in Brooklyn, we got warehouses right by the waterfront, you know, and it's a it was over 10,000 people in 2 days. Like, yeah, I mean, that's major. So
That's a play.
yeah, I like
I
that.
really haven't seen. I've seen like the manufactured. Not when I say manufactured a lot, but like the fits, the this like very specific culture con pieces of content. But I haven't seen like people recording the like the panels. Like I haven't.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
And as someone who like literally sat on like one panel I did really enjoy was it was I want to get them right actually. It was Will Toms, Candace Grace, it was Selena Hill, and I forgot the other gentleman's name, but that panel I was front row, and it was like, I mean, it was about funding. Like they even my God, Will even dropped like the list of funding opportunities for the year
Fire.
by month.
Wow.
So that was like, how could you not walk away with value? But to your point, it's it is there. There were a lot more inspiration because some people just don't know how to figure that part out, you know. But for someone who's been doing it for years, I can understand going there like, dang, like this is what I paid for.
Oh,
And not in a negative way, not in a negative way, because I want to get invited back. We get canceled episode 1. But I think it was definitely in an intentional way. So, look, you hear the bell?
Nah, the sound effects. Come on, man.
We out here. So yeah, I would say CultureCon is a good experience as a creative, but be mindful that it's not about business; it's about relationships.
Yeah.
So go there and have some fun, have a good time. But with that, I mean, we got a topic to cover. So what we got for the topic today? What does it mean to be a creative? We throw that word around a lot. I think creative's the new rapper to people. Like, oh, I'm a creative. I'm a creative. I mean, let's be honest. Like people,
I ain't mad with the comparison.
people
I'm not mad with the
feel
comparison.
like
I'm not.
everyone feels that it's easy to get into and to call yourself that. And don't get me wrong, everyone can be a creative.
Yeah.
But there's an intentionality. I think when I think of it in the structure standpoint, it's like this is why I like comparing creativity to sports. Like there are tiers. There's the league and there's rec ball. And some of us can play in the league. And some people just do it for fun. And that's cool, but we can't treat the same, like we can't treat the two the same. Like, what you do with 1710 isn't the same person as someone picking up their phone and putting together an edit just for the fun ski. So, what does it mean? Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, what does it mean to be a creative in the professional sense and as a person? Because I think those are two different versions. So
It is.
What y'all thinking?
I don't know. When I seen the question, I was like, what does it mean to be a creative? It's like an existential question. But to your first point, I do think everybody can be a creative. And I feel like everybody has creative intentions or like creative capabilities within. Unfortunately, I think that it depends on how it was nurtured as a child, like what you were exposed to, unfortunately, by tax bracket. Also, like, did you have the space to do those creative things when you were young? Did you have access to painting? Did you have access to playing instruments? Like that whole world, I think, happens as a kid. And it wasn't until like I was able to tap back into my childhood loves of collaging and really working with like art and design that I was able to step into what I call my creativity. And I was like, oh, it wasn't until I like worked in elementary school and like was sitting in an art class with other kids and they were like, oh, Miss Liggins, that's so good. And they affirmed me that, oh, I can actually draw a little bit. I was like, oh shit. Like, let me dig in a little bit.
Hey, we gotta do the background because the teacher a whole like
I didn't even know that. I'm gonna let you rock, but I got questions.
I got some follow-ups here. But no, that's a good point to like not only just what you had access to, but what you see, because as growing up in black households, you always hear how like your parents can be creative. Like my mom could make something out of anything, and we don't view that as creative, but that is right. Like feeding families is creative. That's why like everyone has that capability, but it's almost how you channel it, right? And how you nurture it, to your point. But Law, before I get too much in the bag, what you think?
I feel like for me, maybe it's a little controversial, but I think you got to break it down to the word create. So in that aspect of it, it's like, yeah, we're creatives, but I don't think everybody can be a creative. And I'm only saying that because I take pride in what I do. So it's like, not everybody can do what I do. You know what I mean? Not gatekeeping anybody, like, welcome. But at that point, you're not just about to take a term and use it for your own I guess, benefit. You know what I mean? If you're not really living this life. So
Yeah.
when you say a creative, I think it's somebody that's really creating something, and it doesn't have to be anything created from scratch, because I don't think anything's original at this point in time. But you're creating something in your own voice. You're putting something into it that's yours, and you're putting it out to the world. So, literally, it can be anything. Like Cook said, like our parents, our moms, feeding families, being creative in the meals that they make. Like that's artistry in itself. But you have to own it and create something. I just don't like the term being used if you're not really living that life. That's the only thing from my aspect of it.
Do you think it's a difference between being a creative and being an artist? Because what you do
Mm-hmm.
is an art. You know what I mean? Like it's not just being a creative. Is it like a technology aspect?
I think
like,
to that point, every artist is a creative, but not every creative can be an
I was,
artist.
yeah, exactly. I like the explanation that you just said today, Cook. It makes sense. It's like branching off the term creative. I guess is the nucleus point.
Okay.
It can't go.
Vice versa.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But even to that, I still think that there's a level of intentionality and follow through that really stamps you as a creative. Like you go, like I said, it's the source of what you can be. Sure, like anyone with an intentional thought of creating change or seeing something one way and like I can improve on this, I can do this. They can be creative in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
but for what how us sitting up here, like there's years trial and error, money put in. Like you have to in order to, in my mind, to be able to stamp yourself as creative, you have to invest in the process. And I think too many conversations are held, especially on these microphones and camera, where it's like, oh, I want to do this. I manifest this. I want this. I get this. Right. And that's nice.
Right.
But if we're being real honest, as far as like what it takes to actually not only be good at your craft, but to be, like I said, I want to be like a LeBron of this creative thing. Like I want you to know, like my track record was years of trying this. Like this is all just an extension of me as a rapper. Even to me talking now, like I put time into figuring out, well, how does this impact my audience? How does this impact what I'm actually trying to bring to the table or what I'm trying to put into the world? So I think it takes work. Now, with that said, I'm also fortunate to use creativity to figure out how I want to mold my life. And that personal side of creativity, like that, oh, I want this type of house, but it takes this amount of work to get there. And creating change, I think that that's another part of effort, but I don't think that's the same as a professional who is a creative and paid to do what they do. So, I mean, my thought to you or to y'all, honestly, is um, how do you differentiate the side of you that's a creative, that's like the talent, and the creative that's figuring out life?
Is it a difference?
I was about to say, I feel like they go hand in hand. And I guess the way that I'm thinking from when you ask that question is literally separating business from personal. And from that aspect of it, a lot of things for me do intertwine in the two, but it's just the aspect of expectation. And when you have an expectation of just yourself and nobody else, I think that's where the personal side taps in. Whether that's me creating a painting just because I feel this certain way, if it's me getting um uh a new candle to put on the coffee table, a new coffee table book. It's one of those type things where I'm being creative, but it's for my own personal good, where nobody's looking at me. It's literally just me, God, and the path is like this. So it's that aspect of separating the business side of expectations of what other people have of me, because I present things out to the world, but it's things that I do that people will never know. How I decorated my coffee table yesterday. Nobody ever knows why I did that or the reason why. You know what I mean? So from those aspects of it, it's just about having no type of expectation to the creativity of it and just getting into your creative prowess just to elevate yourself. And I honestly like self-love. I put it like self-love in that aspect where nobody is looking towards you for a certain expectation or a certain result, but you're just doing it for yourself. From that aspect of it.
And I think it's my hope that the way that I live my life can be funded. And I think that's the question. Is that the question? Like,
I mean, honestly, no specific direction of question, because I think I changed it as we talked to.
I think that the way I live my life and how I put it out there, I hope that it's funded and I don't have to like automatically switch the way that I do things in order to appease like society and like get the funding that I need to live my life. So I hope that what I do can just generate income that way. That's what I put out there in the world.
I mean, like a couple things that were said by both of you. One I want to touch on that Law said was just like again, focus with you and God, and I think that's the key in being a creative yourself. Like tapping into whatever that source looks like,
Hmm.
because spiritually, I would say for myself, like if I go off the hierarchy, I'm a child of God. He created all of this. It's in my DNA to be a creative,
Right.
right? Like that's there. But to that point, like a kid that's born by again two athletic parents, if they don't put nothing into trying to be an athlete themselves, it's for nothing,
Right.
right? Like that creativity is for nothing. So I do think the source is important and how you're funneling that thought. Even to that, I would also say the process of, and maybe this is my own personal struggle, being such a creative, I've always like go with the flow, trying to build with that, but trying to apply structure to
Hmm.
creativity in life, and to your point, getting this funded because you see that there are brand partnerships doing this now, right? I'm not just doing this for the free ski,
Right,
or
right, right.
I don't want to just do this for the free ski, especially now. Like honestly, I'm at a point where for even social media, I'd rather just show up this way where I'm having a conversation with people versus trying to capture my day to day all the time because I'm still trying to figure things out, right?
Hmm.
So I think that as a creative, our biggest hurdle one is the value of creativity and how it's been almost how it's been like devalued. Like we look at like hiring creatives is like the last thing, it's the task. We got the smallest budgets when we get the things,
Yeah.
and yet we move the biggest needle in something. It's the biggest impact. So I do think that pendulum is swinging back to the powers in the hands of the creative. So I think it's a perfect time to be one,
Right.
but I think that we have to be honest that everyone don't got it.
Hmm.
Like and there are people who are interested, and it's cool to be a fan. Like cheer on. Like you could be interested in what's going on, but you also should be able to respect, like, nah, they doing something. Like when I see a 1710 studio video, I'm like, oh yeah, that's different. That ain't
Yeah.
that ain't I ain't even see that, and I
Right.
was in the same spot. Like it's a difference in that, and I I think my one real thought, as I don't want to just ramble and take over here, is how do you nurture the creativity in you to actually convert and actually make it a path, like a professional path, like instead of just sitting on it. How do you nurture that?
I feel like I think I'm not having a hard time with the conversation, but I feel like the way in which I try to be a creative is I don't want anybody to feel like they can't do what I do. I want everybody to feel like, okay, she took a chance. She put herself out there. I could do the same thing, and maybe in which this path will lead to something else. So I don't want to have a hierarchy. Oh yeah, you ain't like me. You can't do this shit like I do it.
Hmm.
No, I literally got an iPad. I put some shit out. People fucked with it. Like it's not. And then I continue to take a chance on myself. And I feel like people are so afraid to say, "Oh, I'm not a creative. Or I'm not this. I'm not that. I can't do it like she does." But you have the same opportunities and the same tasks and the same tools that I have. Maybe you can't show up the way I do, but you can show up in a way that works for you. And that shit might pop more than me. But I feel like people don't even take the chance because a lot of people put that hierarchy on. Nah, you ain't like me though. You know? And that's what makes it good. That's what creatives are supposed to be. We're all different. And what makes you pop and what makes your content good, I can't do that.
But it's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. So for you to say that, I feel like it just further explains that it's a lane for everybody.
Yeah,
That's
And
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a lane
yeah.
for everybody. And in my opinion, it is a lane for everybody. But
It ain't my lane.
yeah, that's
They
the
not
thing.
like us.
Yeah, that's what I'm
They not
saying.
like us.
It's not your lane, but in the aspect of it, it doesn't mean that you can't do it though.
Yeah.
And I think,
Or find your own lane in the process.
and it's kind of one of those things. There's no right answer to like what
For
makes
sure.
you a successful creative or this
Right.
and that. But
Yeah.
a lot of times, if you're trying to compare and do things like that, you got to understand that nobody is like you though.
Mhm.
So they can't do it like you
No.
because they're not you in that aspect of it. So um, I think that opens up a different conversation of more than what is a creative. But I think your personal endeavors and what you want is really the reason why somebody can say I'm a creative or it got me to that level, because most people aren't going to do the work. That's why even in the things that I do, I never gatekeep. I share all the gems.
Yeah.
Because I'm never afraid of anybody doing what I can do because they're not me. I have the most exactly from that aspect of it. So everything deserves a privilege and access and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think it does open up the conversation that there's no right answer to, being a creative in that aspect of it, because everybody can have their own lane. But I think that's the beauty of it, and make it subjective. And I think that's art in general, creativity in general. It's no right or wrong answer in how you go about it.
I think that's why I love the word creative, because even us sitting here, we can all come together and say, okay, we're all a creative community, but we all have our different lanes and our own unique perspectives and our own niche. For example, like rapper, multidisciplinary. I can't say that word. Artist. Yeah, he's a muralist. And me.
I'm saying all that just to narrow
Yeah,
down.
he's a painter. And I do video shit. So it's cool that we can all come together and say, okay, we're all creatives and we all have our different superpowers.
Right.
So that's why I like the term. At the same time, I do feel like if I want to get in the room and say I'm a video editor, I need to have this type of skill set, Yeah.
That's fair. And I think, so and context of even some background stuff too, because I know both of you guys are killing it as entrepreneurs right now. And for me, working in a corporate type of space as well, I see how conversations are created, how limited it looks in their scope, right? Mm-hmm. And it's yo, no, I'm a creative even on this side. When it comes to marketing strategy, branding, I'm a creative in that whole realm. But to that same point, for me, I look at it my role and someone else's role, they can get paid the same more as me, but I bring more to the table as a creative because of the work that I put in. And it's dang, that needs to have its own value quantification in that realm too, because that's a level of experience that is swept under the rug. And I think it's underappreciated because for most of us, especially as millennials in the era that we grew up with, we grew up where MySpace and all that, we were online just coming up, so we know how to work remotely, we know how to do these things, and this is time that put into learning how to communicate audit to communities online and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so to your point, it's never to diminish anyone's interest in being a creative or even standing on it. I think that I want there to be more of a reality for people that it's sacrificing that there's ups and downs. It's a journey, and it's not just I can say it, but I'm not going to put in the work to do it. It is finding your way and spending time. So not to knock anyone's hustle, and definitely not to compare journeys, because your path to someone else's path could look very different. But I would say that there has to be some, we have to quantify something in the sense of effort and intentionality in what you're saying. Words have to, we have to get back to words meaning something. Words have to mean something. We throw so much out there, I mean, even on just relationship standpoints of how words are just said and not often held to the standard of it. So what does that look like? For me, I think that there has to be some sort of standard in, but if I'm gonna be a creative, I'm gonna advocate for other creatives. When I'm gonna collaborate, it's not to take advantage of anybody else. There is a way that we can do this where, what do you need to get out of this? Okay, bet. Let's make sure that happens when we do this, even in just us coming together here for this, right? There's conversations and alignment and intentionality in being a creative that I think needs to be brought to the forefront more, because I think it should be valued more too, So
have you ever felt like you've been taken advantage of because you let people know that you're a creative?
1,000%. I think that's one of the stigmas with the word collaboration, is because you get taken advantage of as a creative. It's oh yeah, let me just hey, I'm gonna do this for the look. I hated the look era. The look era was crazy. It was nasty work. They was yo, yeah, dog, if you could put this 3-day event on for me, I think it'd be a good look for you. You know what I mean? The look era was nasty. And I mean, but the thing was, because creatives, we just want to be in the room sometimes. We don't necessarily want much out of it. Mm-hmm. And so we never really put too much standard on something. Yo, I volunteered to be in rooms because I wanted to be in that room. Right. But I knew I was getting something out of it. But after 4 years of doing something, don't hit me to do the same thing. Like for the look, like I look like this last year. This look the same. Like I look crazy.
So I got a question for y'all. Do y'all think being a creative that's part of the journey that you have to go through that though?
Early, huh? Yeah, I
Okay.
think, but I also think that's what's missing with a lot of people where they skip to the I deserve, I want, I
Yeah.
need. Like they skip that,
Right.
like
But-
packages.
right,
Right.
like package,
Packages.
like
You haven't
yo,
done anything.
like yo, how much is going to cost for this design? Well, I've never done it, but I start at 500. I start like trial and error. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's a like I said, it's a journey, it's a process, and that's I don't say sports just for a hierarchy. I think sports because people get their kids in sports young when they know they want to do something. They nurture that, they put in time, they go to school for it. There's time, like so. If we can kind of move that framework to like a creative where there's a process, there's an internship, there's a you might go to a creative camp, you might learn like you have to learn along the way.
You want to put structure on everything.
Nah, I just no, I want to just structure this creative industry because I want our value to be what it is. Like I want people to recognize it for the same as like how people can get an NIL deal as an athlete, as a videographer who's making all these clips go crazy. What's the NIL for them? Like what does it look like for someone who's doing that, who definitely adds value to something because this thing wouldn't move the way like I look at what Jay Spinks does for Howard University on some video stuff like this makes me want to come to the game.
Right.
You know, this is the draw, and when the talent is the draw of it, it's almost like the middleman gets paid more than the people who actually ideate and cultivate something, and that I think is where the fall off for me is. And I don't need to structure everything.
I think it's changing too, in that aspect of it, because like you say, the NIL deals. I guess that's the same thing as like an influencer,
True.
but just in the creative realm, which is interesting because like I know, Cook, you always say like we're the new athletes, and it definitely does correlate because the things that we do in the creative industry definitely move the needle, and I think it's happening more on a personal basis more than like the network. So like in the aspect of, Coca-Cola want to come up with a new product, it's not going to be you get an actor that you've seen in a movie, in a commercial. You're going to get somebody that talks on TikTok or there we go.
Like,
exactly.
right,
exactly.
That's it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, right. And it's interesting you seeing that shift in the culture. I mean, I'm really interested to see how it will be maybe 5 years from now because even though it's something that's becoming more mainstream, it's still new.
Yeah.
So in that aspect of it, like I think we're gonna be the type of people that, get the brand deals just because of.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
But
no.
like the Kamala Harris going on podcasts, Donald
yeah.
Trump going on
Yep,
podcasts,
yep.
like it's way different.
That's
like
a
the
good
media,
point.
yeah, the
Yeah.
media. It's not newspaper, it's not TV ads. It's also podcasts. It's also like knowing that we have an audience, that creatives have an audience that want to hear from us.
And I think that's where, like, again, for me, it's like that's the bigger question is like, what does this landscape look ahead? Because I was listening to Nipsey Hussle. That's how I knew. And at the end of it, he says like he predicted all this. He's like, yo, big businesses, big companies are gonna crumble. It's gonna be like the smaller businesses in this digital landscape that's gonna really like pop. And like this is what you're starting to see. So as someone who's like, heard his vision, heard that mission, been in this space, and I know I have a skewed version of it because I come from more of like the hip hop artist side, and like that independent artist grind like is a crazy creative run to
Right.
get somewhere. But it's almost like you see where things are potentially going, and you realize if there's not something that's figured out, people are just going to keep getting taken advantage of, and you're going to be in spaces where communities are being created by people who don't stand on what they stand on because they know how to put it together online, but they don't really live it, And so I think to me, like, it's how do you like pull down the curtain? Like, this is what it takes to be a creative. This is what it looks like. Like, this is the work. And if you want to do it, that's cool. If you don't, if you find a cheat code, shout outs to you, but that's not the norm for everybody who wants to be a creative.
Speaking of cheat codes, back to Duke Dennis. So he
And
no, but his YouTube, and I thought it was so interesting on the interview. He was talking about how he bought his YouTube channel because it used to be a lyrics page, and then he bought and I'm assuming people do it all the time, But he bought the page that already had a set amount of followers, and then he started putting his shit on there, and it was booming because it already had followers on it. I'm like, is that a cheat? Is he cheating, or is it like a cheat code? And you still have to have good content. So I wonder if it's like a comparison in the creative lane of like, I'm catching a wave and I'm riding it.
I mean, you still gotta produce.
That's
Like,
at the end of the day,
at the
you
end of the
still
day,
got
like
yeah.
they could fall off. But what I do like about that, I think we might overlook it, but digital real estate is important. Like like a name being consistent on all platforms in a searchable engine, it is important to who you are as a creative because I mean, the more we get meta, we got Elon building the iRobots, like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta think of how you live in a
No,
world that
facts.
you don't necessarily physically see or tangibly see, but it can impact your reality. Because if K Lig ain't consistent, or if I can't find you in all places, I mean, yeah, it ain't. Bad example. My
Like
apologies.
three different people on three different places.
But
Cool though. Don't be like me.
Not, but even to me, like in my own page, like yeah, a guy named Cook is a consistent brand from like a creative journey standpoint. But I got a whole nother page for me finding my way as a person
Right.
because I'm not that all the time. So yeah, I do think I think it's a great space, but to really like tie into what we started with and give a direct answer, creative community. My thought on what it means to be a creative is someone who notices within themselves that they're capable of creating some sort of change, and they are constantly pursuing that thread, building out what that looks like to establish it professionally for any opportunities. That's my personal. But what you
I love it.
That was nice. That was
It was.
deep.
It was.
oh y'all got your own versions?
That sounds like it came out the Wikipedia page.
It really did. Like
Like what?
she called
I
it
like
what?
art and I think it's nice. Like what?
Oh, Ratatouille. Anyone can cook.
Like, what does it mean to be a creative? To me, I feel like it means tapping into something that's innate to you and putting it out into the world, in whatever aspect that may be. That's what I think being a creative is. Thank you.
Yeah. In my aspect, my vision is just something that you create. Like you gotta break it down to the very base of the word, something that you create that you can put in your own voice to put out to the world. Create some type of solution that people will find value in. Um, and I don't honestly think it has to be in a professional setting, but from that aspect of it, you're creating your own ideas and whatever spin of what you're putting out, and it's something new to you. Like it speaks from your mind. Doesn't mean that it's totally original or people have seen it before, but if it's authentic and new to you, I think that's the best definition to what a creative is.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, authentically use your voice. All right. Well, look, I like that, and we got time left on the clock. Look at us.
Efficiency.
So I think we could let's transition to the next part of this show.
Yes,
You know?
sir.
All right, but nah, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the show. Rate, recommend, resource. All right. So for those who are new, which is everyone, because this is episode 1. We all of us have our creative minds, and we we view the world in a creative way. So there's going to be a product that we rate, like the execution of it. Something that we talk about, that we provide a recommendation on what we would add to that opportunity. And then we want to make sure we give you a resource if you're someone that's leaning into your journey and you're trying to figure it out. So I think that's a solid setup. This week I found the sources for this one. So let's talk rate. Piece by Piece, Pharrell Williams. If you aren't familiar, Pharrell released his biopic Piece by Piece, and it was actually a Lego movie. And I mean, I could start it off, but I know I've been sleeping on all this a lot, so I don't want to rule the conversation. So what's your thoughts, Law?
I'm gonna get my thoughts before I rate it. So I think in terms of the entire campaign, I definitely loved it. I think one thing that they tapped into a lot was getting other people involved. So even if you go to their social media, their Instagram pages, a lot of collab posts with different influencers, from Oprah Winfrey to different film companies, just to get the word out there. And I think, like you said, authentic reviews and authentic I guess, capturing by getting other people's audiences involved is something to really gain the noise behind something to really hype it up and get that aspect of it. So I thought that was really cool in the aspect of them doing that for the social media side of it. I see they did a lot of I'm not really into video, so I don't know the naming of it, but like a lot of motion graphics of like the actual Lego. So like the building of the Lego, and it took me back to like the nostalgic days. Off topic, but kind of relate. I kind of got into the Lego thing with the flowers aspect of it. Yeah, yeah, and doing them for sculptures for my house and things like that. So seeing like that so much as a buzz for this movie and the actual creation of Legos, and it just took me back to a time of nostalgia. And I'm real big on nostalgia in my own artwork, and I think if it brings people to a common ground and a common place. So I thought that they really executed well on that aspect of it. So to tie it all up, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. I didn't actually see the movie, but in terms of the actual the promotion and things about it, I thought they did a great job of it, and I think they really nailed it with getting the other people involved for collab posts to get the audiences all on one accord. So.
Same with me. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do plan on going to see it on the $7 Tuesday. I gotta go when it's a deal.
There we go.
You know, budget.
Create your life.
You know. But I've already was excited. I love everything that Pharrell does anyway, so I knew it was gonna be super dope. But from the pieces that I've seen, not good for people on TikTok to be leaking things. So I've seen a lot of things that I didn't want to see about the movie, which pissed me off a little bit. But it's basically like interview style. It's an interview style movie, so it's not like a recreation of the things, which I thought was gonna be like a new story, but it's basically like an interview with all the people that he's worked with, and they've recreated the scenes in Lego form. So I love that because I'm already like on the documentary vibe. But as far as the rollout, I love it. The Legos are already super what's the word, like moldable to whatever you're talking about. So I love that it can take on whatever form that the person that they're working with in collaborations and things like that. So super excited to see it.
All right, what you got on your rate out of 10 scale?
Can I just give everything a 10?
I mean, you can.
I can. I personally would give it a 10 because I think the rollout was complete. Pharrell also went back to his hometown of Virginia Beach, like his hood, like the literal apartment complex, and did a giveaway. I feel like it had a really good, like from the top down with the influencers they've worked with to making sure that they paid homage to like the homegrown aspect of it and also making sure they had their own Legos. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
Disclaimer, she's from VA. So,
oh yeah, I am from Virginia. Went to school at ODU. Virginia Beach is basically like
well,
second home. Yeah.
We'll say that's a skewed school. No.
Whatever.
But I think for things that I saw, so not only was this Lego movie happening and Pharrell promoting it, Pusha T, like they had the whole Lego commercial. Like I think there was a lot of synergy happening. And I think the timing was right. Like to your point, there's a lot of adults getting into Legos. Mm-hmm. You might have seen recently the TikToks of the women showing their different Legos. So I think the timing of it was perfect in terms of a movie of this type. The promotion window of it. I do like that he made sure, because a lot of times when films or shows come out, they go to the big cities. They go to the Atlantas, the LAs, and New York. I like that he kept it VA. And shout out to Pharrell for always taking care of home as he grew. I think, and again, like I've seen even his school program JLaw. Shout out to Steph on the JLaw team, friend of the show.
Yeah.
And like they had not only activations in VA, they did something in New York. So there was a lot, and that's talking about the educational side. So I like that it's showing. It's literally targeted to kids to take in a documentary. And those of us who just grew up on him, right? So I would say I give it an 8.5 only because I think like I gotta see what a 10 really looked like. I gotta leave room for what a 10 could be.
No, facts.
And not saying that this wasn't a perfect execution, but I think of all right, how do you take advantage of sales that first week? Like, how do you get people in the box office sooner, right?
Yeah.
That like, what's that conversion look like? I think like a lot of movies back in the day where like you used to go, the first 100 people got the Pokemon cards that went there. Like I think if they had like some time thing where the first group of people, or if you go this weekend, you get a Lego or something attached to the show. I think that
Forgot
would have been
about
a nice
that.
But do we
conversion.
know that happened or not?
I mean, I think we would have heard about it if it
I
did.
don't know, because AMC does like the popcorn buckets, but I haven't seen it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the sense of, or again, this is also my ignorance, so I could have to rechange the
You
score.
fighting hard for Pharrell, ain't
Right,
you?
right. Look, I don't
I'm
want to
just
say the box.
saying.
I ain't see a single Lego come out from
Hey.
people, but hey, that's just me. But
Life is about
I guess you ain't see it, right? You ain't. If you
Yeah,
ain't see it, right? That's right.
look, look, had it.
That's right.
It doesn't
Hey,
exist. I'm like, okay.
if it was promoted come the first week,
I would've
I'd have
known.
spent the 25. You feel me? On a single ticket.
I'm not spending $25 on a movie ticket. That's just crazy.
Hey, look, but that's what I'm saying. Like a buy-in to something exclusive, a little collectible, that might get people to feel the value of it to invest further. That's my only thought. But 8.5 out of 10. We'll bring up the score on the screen and let y'all take a look. Sorry to the editor.
Sorry.
With that said, next topic for our recommendation. Recently, the Wall Street Journal did an article with Angel Reese and Asia Wilson, and I mean, I thought it had a lot of great digital traction, shared in different spaces.
Because he's here.
Hey, this is my week to recommend. So wait till your week and let's see what you bring. I see nothing. But also the Wall Street Journal recently has done a lot of like editorial covers. They did the Donald Glover one. They did Kevin Hart, a few other people. And so my thought here is just for the Wall Street Journal as a whole, like because to me they fell off the map in terms of just my own awareness. But this brought them back on my radar. So I'm wondering, as creators, any recommendations that we have for the Wall Street Journal and their brand right now. And I know if I start, it's gonna be like, yeah, that's it. So
Nah, facts. So I was actually doing a little bit of research, and it's interesting that you brought that up because Wall Street Journal hasn't been in my algorithm, I guess you say, on social media. But I know, just thinking off rip, what I was thinking of the Wall Street Journal is an older crowd finances. It's Wall Street, you know what I mean? But when you sent the articles and did some research on it, I'm like, okay, they really trying to. It seems like cater to a younger crowd. What their crowd used to be, I mean, what their crowd was maybe in the 90s, 2000s, they're much older now. So it's like, how do you do the pivot? And one thing I went to was their TikTok, and they do, updated stories on things that are happening in the world. So I think one thing I think they could do better, it might be a little age bias, but the people that do the research are like the senior executives or the senior researchers and things like that, which is nothing wrong with them, but they're old, and it just doesn't connect to somebody that's in their early 30s.
Yeah.
The way they present it, you can't kind of create something that you're not, but maybe you could hire somebody that has a little bit more personality. Exactly, right. It was just a little bit of it was very flatline in the information they were introducing. So it's like engagement is number one on social media, especially on TikTok. So if you're not bringing the energy, it's an interesting story from the cover, but if you explain it and I'm not interested, I'm gonna scroll. So maybe that can be a recommendation. I'm not trying to take nobody out of their job, but somebody else can be the face. Yeah, you can do the research, but somebody else just say it. That's all.
Look, gotta know your people.
So that would be a recommendation for me, especially on the TikTok side. I know that's probably one of the most popular social media sites there that's on the rise right now. So in that aspect, just get a little bit more spunk, a little bit younger faces for the crowd.
And same with I watched what's her name? Jesus Christ. Asia Wilson. Asia. She did the job interview on the Wall Street Journal, and same, it was kind of flat. I was excited because visually it looks great, and visually all their covers have looked great as well. But the interview, I would have loved, like the interview that was interviewing her was off camera, so it kind of was flat. Just her at the desk, kind of to the camera. I would have loved seeing someone younger, kind of interviewing, engaging with her. Same concept. So yeah.
Okay. So I think my thought is like pretty much the overarching nerve of what both of you are saying. Like I think that it needs to tap into a culture, right? Culture does move a little bit more, and or that's not what you're saying, sorry.
That's fine.
But when I was looking at it, I found the article. I thought the interview was a good, like it was of interest, right? But to the article itself, it was a paywall. So I'm like, this isn't enough
Yeah,
to
the
get me.
paywall.
This ain't enough to get me to convert, right?
Mhm.
And but I'm like, but why not? Like I'm sure one shout outs to the marketing team that they have for doing this story on Asia and Angel, because I'm sure the KPIs are through the roof as far as like
No,
metrics of
facts.
click throughs and all that, and just a bunch of us stopping at pay.
I-
I'm gonna go ahead and head out.
That's
Yeah.
across the board though, because the New York Times and NPR just put a paywall up on their news, and I love NPR's pods, but they are looking to put a paywall up, and I think that's across with media
No,
outlets in general.
I definitely think that's a across the board type
Mhm,
thing, but it
mhm.
is a couple. I could be biased, but the Baltimore Banner in Baltimore, they do a really great job of like previewing their stories.
Okay, that makes you wanna
Yeah, and the reporter, and
Yeah.
I've paid the paywall to watch
Okay.
the art because it's like,
support journalism.
yeah, for real, and it really makes a difference in how it's presented to the public to get past that paywall. But
Mhm.
I didn't.
And to the point, like, so for me, like, because I'm not against the paywall if it's like, do I have enough to go forward, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Even for a 7-day trial, like,
Mhm.
you know, so for me, I was like, well, what is it that's making me turn around? And my thought was, well, I just don't feel connected to Wall Street Journal enough to go any further than that.
Right.
Mhm.
So my recommendation is, I think that Wall Street Journal, to your point, to reach a younger audience, I think they would do well by either having an activation or a panel at like an Invest Fest
Mhm.
or something in that regard. Or I think, and shout outs to the local gang, partnering with the Wealth Summit Live, where you could have a bigger footprint for your dollars, maybe add value to what they're bringing as far as like people who are trying to thinking of something about money and investing, and Wall Street Journal and which you represent in financial.
Mhm.
That gives you a chance to also ingrain yourself in a culture that's growing, that's clearly moving metrics, and that could draw people into what you're selling. Because to your point, it's the who is doing it is not enough to get people through. But if you're connecting on these cultural things or people that support, they're like, oh, all right, I can give a little bit more to this
Right.
because I've seen them around. I've seen that support. So
Mhm.
my recommendation would be for them to maybe be more active in spaces of a younger community and what that can look like.
I follow a girl on TikTok, and I'm sorry I don't remember her name, but her whole shtick is watching or reading the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Like that's all she does every day.
Oh,
And
wow.
she really hate that I forgot her name, and I'll put it in the show notes. But I love that she's working with media literacy. Like she just wants to break the barrier of people that may not read the Wall Street Journal, but she's going to articulate it in a way that
Right.
works for her audience. So
Wow.
I think they definitely brought her out, and they've done partnerships with her before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Like that's,
So,
that's
yeah.
easy collaboration.
Right. But she did it for like every day for like the whole year or something crazy like that. So
Yeah.
I think working with more people, because I think it is a barrier when you hear Wall Street Journal, you automatically think finance, you think big bank people or
Yep.
people on the hill somewhere that you have no access to. So working with more TikTok influencers and people that can talk directly to their audience and maybe bring in new people to the fold.
No, fact.
So Wall Street Journal, if y'all are watching us, and we'll work with you
It's
first
fine.
and foremost. We got options. Everybody got a plan here, but no, I like the recommendations. I mean, again, from like a younger voice on TikTok, the editorial, and even bringing in people and like I said, activation. I think that's enough for a brand to ingratiate itself with a newer audience and demographic that has people that would buy into it or may go past the paywall. So I like it.
Ingratiate?
Yeah, that's probably not a real word.
I don't know, but that's crazy.
We gonna
I
market
love
it.
that
Right,
word.
you know what I mean? Like, we could have just let that
I
fly. Like,
love it.
It's a real word.
It's a real word.
Let's
It's a real word.
Let's go.
I've never heard
Never
it.
been to college. How you spell knowledge? K-Y. Alright, that's a whole.
I love that.
With that, lastly, before and the last part of this, man, is a resource. So, I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna steal the first resource because I said it earlier, and I know it's the one we've been using. But as a creative, I very much encourage. You don't have to get the latest one, but some sort of a camera, like the Osmo specifically, is what we've been using. I mean, hey, you see us. The Osmo specifically is a resource I would recommend because it does two things for me. One, great quality capture, of course, on the fly, on the run. But I have become more appreciative of capturing content not on my phone because it doesn't distract me. Like when you record on your phone, you be like, all right, well, let me go to this app. Let me go to this app. Like this allows me to be more present as I'm shooting, and I would think for anyone who is a creative, like, we talk big on documenting the journey and what that looks like. So I would say some sort of camera, but specifically the Osmo will be the resource I would recommend for this week.
I love the Osmo, and I'm sad that I can't talk about it, but just to piggyback, I love that you can shoot vertically or horizontally, especially someone who wants to be on multiple platforms as well as YouTube. Love the Osmo Pocket. Definitely also shameless plug to get the creator combo. That also includes the battery pack and the microphone and this little cute as carrying case that you just need in your life, girl. So yeah, Osmo Pocket 3. Quick ones for a few that I'll say. CapCut. Don't think that you need the pro version. I know a lot of people use CapCut, but I love it as a very beginner-friendly video editing tool. The pro version is cool, but I don't think that you need it personally. Also, I just purchased a hard drive, which is crazy. It's like a creative that has been doing this for a while. I have not had a hard drive, and I love it, y'all. So being able to have all of your content in one place and being very strategic about how you organize that content, having it all on one hard drive has been a game changer for me as I'm editing multiple things for clients as well as myself. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it there for recommendations. Let me save something for next week.
There we go. My resource, I've been really big on funding this year. All the creative projects that I want to do, the main thing is the moolah. Where's the money coming from? If you don't have a fiscal sponsor, if a company doesn't want to pay you directly, with me being an artist, a lot of the things that I do are for the public, for the community. So Maryland State Arts Council, that's literally the public public organization Maryland, the state of Maryland has elected for public art budget. So from works from murals, classes, teaching, they have all these different types of grants that they give out to creatives, specifically the creativity grant. They give up to $4,000 each fiscal year for you to do a creative project. It can be a mural, it can be an art show, it could be
network.
There we go, network. It's just this funding that they give you for your creative projects to fill out. I've gotten it twice before, so I'm a share the gems. I'm not gonna gatekeep. It's something that I feel like everybody that's a Maryland resident should definitely tap into. Now, one thing I will say, if you're not in Maryland, every state has a budget for arts. So if it's not Maryland State Arts Council, please look up your state. In Virginia, I'm sure they have one, something similar. For you to get the funding, and I really think every creative should at least try. Another tip I'm gonna give is if you don't get the grant approved, definitely ask for feedback, and they'll give you feedback on why it didn't get approved. Apply again, and you'll get the grant. It happened to me, and it's really easy. So definitely want to share that with creatives that are watching this. Definitely apply. There's really no reason not to.
Hey, for sure. JLaw said, "Just give me my money." Yeah. No, man. Well, with that said, man, like we said earlier, the creatives got something to say. Thank y'all for tuning in into the first episode of Creatively Speaking. Oh, right on time. Okay. Look at us. So, check us out on YouTube, on podcast, all your streaming platforms, and of course, follow us at CTLN Network, CTLN_network. And with that said, y'all, be good.